Well, please put your hands together for our adventure-seeking, high-flying education maven, Carolyn Smallwood.
Thank you very, very much. I am so glad to be here, and I'm very honored to introduce our guest speaker today. But before I do that, I would like to introduce some of her team members. We have Jeremiah Brown. He's the director of Step Up / Achievement. Please give him a hand. And then we have Kevin Murray. He's manager of employer organizing. Give him a hand. I want to start out real quickly and say that I am honored to introduce Pam Costain. Wonderful organization. She's been around here a long time, and she's considered a very high profile community leader. Pam Costain is president and CEO of Achieve Minneapolis. Pam assumed leadership of Achieve Minneapolis in 2010 after 4 years as an elected member of the Minneapolis Board of Education. She served on the executive committee of successful Strong Schools, Strong Cities referendum campaign in 2008 and was the first state director for Parents United for Public Schools. For 14 years, Pam was an executive director of the Resource Center of Americas, an international human rights organization. In 2003, she helped found Wellstone Action, an organization dedicated to promoting civic engagement, where she served as Director of Education and Training. Pam has extensive experience in public education reform, school and community partnerships, parent engagement, and school finance. She has a BA from Carleton College and an MA in education from the University of Minnesota. Please welcome Pam Costain.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm so delighted to be here today. This is actually my first visit to this club, although I've heard about it for years, and I think it's wrong of me that it's my first day here. But I want to congratulate you for all the really fine work you do in this club, and also to thank you very much for the scholarships that you provide to Minneapolis Public School students for college. I know that that's one of the service projects of your club, and we appreciate it very much. I am going to talk with you today about Minneapolis Public Schools, about what our stake is as a city in the success of the kids in the Minneapolis Public Schools, and also a little bit about what Achieve Minneapolis does and how you yourselves can become involved. So that's where we're going to go. I hope to provide an adequate time for questions. What I want to do is let you know that I am the proud daughter of 2 public school teachers. I grew up in Minot, North Dakota. My own children graduated from the Minneapolis Public Schools, as did Jeremiah. And I am a passionate defender of the promise of public education in this country. I truly believe it's the foundation of our democracy, and we have to get it right in our public schools. My own daughter has gone on to become the dean of, one of the deans of students at Patrick Henry High School, so hopefully carrying on the legacy. But I've personally been involved as a parent and advocate since 1984. Unfortunately, I don't think I chose the right color for my slideshow, given the amount of sunshine up here, so I'm not sure you can see there. So I will just talk you through this PowerPoint. The first thing that I want to let you know is that Achieve Minneapolis, my organization, is a nonprofit organization, a 501c3 nonprofit that supports the Minneapolis Public Schools. We work closely with the Minneapolis Public Schools to help them achieve their sort of top-line goal, which is every child career and college ready. Their mission is our mission. But at the same time, we are not the Minneapolis Public Schools. We're an independent organization, and we would describe ourselves as the critical friend of the Minneapolis schools. You know the way that families have to tell each other the truth? They know each other well, they support each other, they do everything they can to be there with that other person, but in the end of the day, it's your critical friend who suggests to you things that might change, what they're hearing from the community, and that kind of thing, and that's the role that we play for the Minneapolis Public Schools. We believe ourselves, our own mission statement, in addition to being dedicated to career and college readiness for all students, we are also dedicated to raising academic achievement for all children. And what that means is this. It means top performing kids must continue to accelerate. It means middle level kids also must continue to accelerate. And it means kids that are behind have to catch up and accelerate as well. So when we say all children, we mean all children. We talk a lot in this community about the achievement gap, and it's very real, but I want to be very clear with you that the achievement gap means that we address that because that's where the greatest need is, but that we have to be very clear about raising achievement for all kids. We're not going to get there in this state and region if we don't do that. We also are very committed to equity. And what I mean by that is for too long we have tolerated in this city the notion that some schools are the good schools, some high schools are the good high schools, and other high schools are not good high schools and they're not college preparatory high schools. And like the Minneapolis Public Schools under Superintendent Green and now Superintendent Johnson, we believe it's critical that every single high school in Minneapolis be a college preparatory high school. And our commitment is to helping the district get there by making all the schools college preparatory high schools. That's a big order for any of us for this school district, and so what I'm here to tell you is the schools can't do it alone. This is a community-wide effort that's going to be required to ensure that we have career and college readiness for all students, and that specifically our high schools are all college preparatory high schools. Because resources are tough in our public systems right now, the task is really enormous, and we simply cannot do it asking the institution itself to do it alone. But here's the good news, and you are the demonstration of it. We live in a community where there's an ethic of concern and compassion for others, where we're future-oriented, we believe in investing in youth, and where we understand that it's the partnership between the public, private, and nonprofit sector that really is going to make the difference in any community. So if the public sector can't do it alone, the private sector can't do it alone, and the nonprofit sector can't do it alone, we come into this thing together. So let me just tell you a few facts about the Minneapolis Public Schools if you don't know it. Minneapolis Schools has 34,000 students in it. Of those 34,000 students, 65% are on free and reduced lunch. That means they are in poverty. To be on free and reduced lunch, the bar is very, very low. It's something like $22,000 a year for a family of 4 for free lunch. So these are kids who are not only poor, but in many cases very poor. So 65% of the students live in poverty. Approximately 65 to 70% of the students are students of color. 23% of the children who attend the Minneapolis Public Schools are learning English. So their family does not speak English in the home, and they are learning English for the first time in school. This is the most shocking statistic I think I can share with you. 1 in 12 children in the Minneapolis Public Schools is either homeless or highly mobile. What that means is in any given year, 1 in 12 kids is moving more than 3 times during the school year because their housing is so unstable that they do not have a secure place to live. So you put together all those things, and this is a fairly daunting challenge for the Minneapolis Public Schools. The good part, though, is that we also, unlike a lot of urban areas, have pretty significant participation in our public schools by the middle class and even very affluent families. So this school district serves the full range of families. It's not an exclusively poor district, but it does have the challenges of the majority of our children being poor. The other reality I want to share with you is that on every measure, we have appalling statistics which as a community we have to address. Whether or not we're talking about kindergarten readiness, which Carolyn is very familiar with and is working on, 3rd grade reading, taking rigorous courses in high school, or graduation, the situation is really quite difficult. This year, the federal government has determined that all school districts across the nation will be measured on a 4-year graduation rate, meaning you come in freshman, you graduate 4 years later, and under that statistic, Minneapolis Public Schools has less than 50% graduation rate. We also have we have about 2,000 kids that are out there that should be in school, that are of age to be in school, and they're not in school. So we face a really daunting challenge as a community. Yet at the same time, I'm here to tell you that if you step in the doors of the Minneapolis Public Schools, you're going to find an incredible group of kids there. As the mayor has said, if you've ever heard him talk, they speak 90 languages in their homes. They come from a global community, and they have the same aspirations that middle-class children and affluent children have. And I just heard a statistic in a conference I was at today, and that is that more than 90% of all parents in our community and every community have an aspiration that their child goes to college. And the category or the demographic group that has the highest aspiration for their children to go to college is African American families. So don't ever think that the aspiration to college is limited to middle class people or or others. It is a common aspiration. So here's another thing I want to put before you before we talk about what can be done. And you may have heard this by now. In 2018, a Georgetown study has found that in our region, in the Minneapolis-St. Paul